How are you? Welcome to Critical Moves of Telesur. The defense minister of NATO has met with all of the other colleagues. And what are the topics on the agenda? Well, the withdrawal of the United States from the Open Seas Agreement due to the alleged unfulfillment on behalf of Russia, and the creation of a fund and a material reserve for medical fund for the coronavirus pandemic. How has the Trump administration had an influence on NATO during the last years? This is the question we're going to pose ourselves. Why are all of the members of this alliance so nervous? Let's analyze this. When all this meeting was over, the NATO members had issued a statement. This is something of what he said. The threats of the COVID have not disappeared. This is why we have to give security to all of the people of the world. We have to maintain dissuasive measures and defense. We also have to discuss all of the policies, especially if Afghanistan and Pakistan. We see that China is much more strong now. They have a stronger force and the military system they have. So any attempt to undermine the trust of our democratic institutions will be contradictory to the central principles of this organization, because we are here to try to defend and strengthen the democratic institutions. It's important in this context to recall what the Open Seas Treaty is about. And this comes right about because the United States withdrew from the pact. The Open Seas for Peace is an international agreement that makes a regular type of agenda to overfly the member countries. It became efficient in 1992 in Helsinki, Finland, on behalf of the foreign ministers of 24 countries, among those United States and Russia, as well as others that at the moment were part of the West bloc. It began in 2002, once that Russia and Belarus completed all of their paperwork, and the United States had already done it in 1993. Other 10 nations have subscribed themselves for a total of 34 members. Hungary and Canada are the custodians of the papers. The regulations of this Open Skies Treaties is the territory in which the member countries can have jurisdiction. The observation flights that should pass inspection previous to begin, the sensors that also have can be regulated by the state members, but should be available to any of the members for any commercial purpose. And the images are limited to 30 centimeters. The information that is gathered during the missions should be available to all of the members, which should only have to pay for the reproduction costs, and all of the other ones that each member has to accept and send. Well, part of what was agreed in this context between ministers of defense of NATO comes to us through Deutsche Welle in an article that's called "NATO will reinforce the anti-missiles before to confront the Russian armament. We do not want to start a new arms weapon war, but we have to be strong." This is what NATO president has said. This is John Stoltenberg. After a video conference with the ministers of defense of 30 members of the alliance, of the Atlantic Alliance, Likewise, Stoltenberg has explained that the reduction of the U.S. troops in Germany will be compensated by a reinforcement of the military presence in Poland. He also said that the Allies are investing in a new platform with fifth-generation airplanes. And there is also another paragraph that's called "Less troops in Germany, but more in Poland." As we said before, is that United States and Poland, along with us, have decided to reinforce the presence in Poland. In fact, the United States has confirmed that they will receive on next Wednesday the president of Poland, regardless of the pandemic. So the presence of the United States in Europe will be reinforced. Another one is 5G networks and evacuation in Afghanistan. Stoltenberg highlighted that the Allies should protect the infrastructure that are critical, such as telecommunication, transport, and energy, and that the property and control of those that will be dealt with. We are not mentioning any specific countries, but when it comes to talk about the requisites, it will be necessary to analyze what are the risks that NATO should point at. And let's not forget that just last week there was information that the White House authorizes companies from the U.S. to have businesses with the 5G business. This is contrary to what was happening in the upcoming months. And ministers went over the missions and operations. Stoltenberg reminded that NATO has a plan to support the peace in Afghanistan, and they will reduce it in an orderly manner and in very close connection with all of the agents. We will only leave Afghanistan when it's necessary. In terms of what the mission has to do in security in Iraq, Stoltenberg said that NATO was invited by the country. We are only there while we are welcomed, he said. This is another message for the Trump administration. So it has been President Donald Trump the problem for NATO for the past years, and this according to what the former state of affairs said, Mr. John Bolton, in his book, Memoirs of the White House, the book the room where it all happened. Let's see what he said. Trump asked China that they helped him to win the re-election, according to the Bolton book. Some of the fragments say the comment of Bob said that there were some problems with Trump because there was a summit of NATO in 2018. He recalls a message that this country would withdraw from NATO if the Allies did not increase the expenses by January. We will leave and we will not defend those who have not paid. This is a message that Trump told Bolton. Bolton tried to stop this message to go through, but it was even worse when he said, you want to do something historic? But Trump was infuriated when Trump heard that there was some criticism about him. Donald Trump has tried to stop the releasing of this book, but I think it's impossible. This is why I suggest that you should read the cracks that Trump opened in NATO. It has been published in the Espectador by Camilo Gomez. It says, President Trump has opened a huge gap in NATO throughout his 3 years and a half at government. This can be through his declarations about the low budget that the countries are giving to the organization. The operation that led to Qasem Soleimani in January this year was ordered by Trump, obligated NATO to stop a mission in Iraq because there could be repercussions after the assassination of Soleimani. Months before, Trump had ordered to reduce the troops in Syria. This also unleashed a conflict with Turkey and led President Macron to declare that the NATO was brain dead just before the 70th anniversary of the creation of NATO. This week, the president has declared that he was going to reduce to half his troops' presence in Germany. However, it's not clear what this Republican is trying to do with this menace. And let's not forget that the operations in Germany are fundamental for his actions in the Middle East and in Africa. To withdraw half of the troops from Germany, this is 25,000 soldiers, is, according to experts, a very risky move. The only beneficiary of what Trump is doing, apparently, is Vladimir Putin, who celebrates what he is doing. To weaken NATO with the hope that this conducts to a major defense of Germany is something that works in favor of Russia. This was said by Tobias Ellwood, president of the Parliament of the UK. Trump wants to make pressure, so Germany will give them 2% to NATO, just like the other members have done. According to experts, this is extremely ambitious because this will only be done until 2031, according to Berlin. The President of the United States has always complained that Germany has a great debt in the organization, although they're the second country of the alliance that supports with more money. The problem with all of these gaps that Trump has opened is that they are unrepairable. And even if the president fails to go through with your elections, and there is a change of the presidency, the American diplomacy has already been hit by the actions of his administration. How about if we see a map, a geopolitical map of this alliance, this military and economic alliance, NATO? NATO, military alliance, strategic alliance. This is a military intergovernmental alliance that rules itself by an agreement signed on April 4th. It is a collective defense system whose members agree to defend any of the members if they are attacked by a foreign power. The headquarters are in Brussels, Belgium, and the members are 29 countries that are permanent and 21 collaborative countries. However, in other countries and in other places, this collaborative helped them to support peace. The combined spending of the combined spending in military was 52% of all of their budgets. The structure is divided in the Council of NATO, where each one of the members sent an envoy to the headquarters, and they meet at least once a week. They have the authority of government and of decision of the organization. The meetings in this council are led by the Secretary General. The Parliamentary Assembly, this sets the strategic objectives of NATO. It has a yearly meeting, and it goes along with the military agreements, military forces of each government. And the last one is the Military Committee, and it is under the authority of NATO. The committee is in charge of advising the alliance in the military front. NATO has received many criticism for their recent actions. And as the most hit has been US, UK, especially because of what they did in Libya when they invaded and killed Muammar Gaddafi in 2003. They invaded Iraq using false pretenses. Let's present you this the question of the day, through which you too can become an analyst of our program. What are the geopolitical effects have all of the tantrums of Trump in NATO? Who benefits from his actions? Give us your opinion. We'll be right back. The arrival of Donald Trump to the White House has marked a crossing point with other organizations. It has been these organizations that traditionally have been allies of the United States. Let's see how these tensions have grown. The summit of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that was held in December last year marked the tension between some of the members and the Trump administration. This increase of tensions was seen between France and the United States, especially in the role of NATO and the redefinition and how they should work together. This criteria has defended by Macron, and in their belief, terrorism is something that all of the countries are now confronting, and it's important to confront it together. Then the tensions are expanding all the way to Germany, where the U.S. has troops. The United States has proposed to withdraw much of the troops that they have there. According to analysts, Trump doesn't like Europe, and this has to do with the budget. During his most recent summit, Trump questioned the military expenses of the country, saying that they should pay 2% of each one of the members. In this line, there were many personal attacks against the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who he asked to go through in increasing the military expenses, or on the contrary, he would impose more military sanctions. These tantrums with France, Germany, and Canada have revealed very clear divisions within the organism. And from this crisis, we're going to speak in our analysis part. Let's speak with Mr. Rodriguez. He is from Russia. And Jorge Luis Ubertale, he is a journalist. And I would like to start with Jorge Luis. What is the moment that NATO is going through now? Hello, Ray. Greetings to all of the people who watch this program. Well, the problem is that the United States is a country in decadence. Just some days ago, we were analyzing the coronavirus and their external problems, too. The problem is that Trump wants to withdraw some soldiers from Germany and take them to Poland. And many agree that the situation will break the relationship in NATO. I think to sanction Germany in many things. One, because there is an alliance that Germany has with Russia. And also because there is no increase in the military expenses, just like Trump says. And Germany has offered to increase it by 2031. And Germany does not feel as if they owed something to NATO. Apart from that, Germany does have a good relationship with Russia, and this is something that infuriates the United States. And Trump was not able to gather all of his allies. And if you see in Germany, when the Open Seas Treaty was dealt with and the United States decided to withdraw, he broke this agreement, just like he did with the nuclear weapons agreement. So, when the United States announced that they were going to withdraw 9,500 troops from Germany and send them to Poland, they said that the United States does not defend Germany with the troops they have. But what they do is they protect their power in Africa and the Middle East. So what they're saying is that Germany is not a satellite from the United States, and they will not be treated as a colony. So, from these, the United States does not invest in Europe. The only thing they do is they deal with the military fronts. And from there, they're trying to threaten other countries. So the biggest problem that the United States has, apart from NATO, is coronavirus. That you have almost 120,000 dead and thousands more infected, and the numbers are growing. So of course they are at a crossing point. South Korea also helped the dissidents. There was a big clash between North Korea and South Korea, and as we saw that North Korea blew up the coordination office with South Korea. So this is what Trump has been provoking, and we don't know from here to November what's going to happen. Thank you, Jorge Luis. Stay with us. Let's listen now to David Rubén Rodriguez. Russia, here you're in Russia. Welcome. And since you are in Russia, I want to ask you, allegedly, these sanction measures against Germany are in first place because Germany has not come up to scale with its military budget, and second, to affect Russia for not having respected what was what it contained in the Open Seas Agreement. I ask myself, how has the Kremlin felt all of these recent decisions from the White House? Well, President Trump has become and somebody who provokes crisis. We cannot speak only about him, but in the moment of crisis. This is the biggest crisis in the world. It's always concerning. But now, in terms of security in the world, it has been concerning all around the world. We have seen how the Trump administration has been deteriorating the military relations with many countries, including Russia. And let's not forget about this unilateral decision that has been highly criticized by many members of NATO and has shown that there is an intense concern. And this is a very rude attitude, because it's blackmail to get more money from the countries. This is coercion that they're doing it through NATO, and in this case it is manifested in a direct way in what and how all of the military effectives that the United States has are going to be withdrawn. Apparently, there are 52,000 people, military and civilians, in Germany. And now 9,500 militaries will be withdrawn from Germany, and that these troops are going to be sent to Poland. And this is restricted by the international agreements, and this is a direct way to move the chess piece that puts Russia in a response effort. And of course, they're going to reject. And they also show a concerning in the fact that the Trump administration is dismantling a whole system that has been constructed after World War II to guarantee peace and trust in military and security topics. We have seen how they withdrew from the Open Seas Agreement, and now we observe how they're using NATO as a negotiating bill. And we still have to see what's going to happen next year in nuclear weapons. In 2021, the nuclear weapons agreement is expiring, so we have to see how that's going to go. I think that they also have a vision of trying to accelerate their economy through a context of war. We have seen different scenarios where the United States uses the war to give oxygen to their economy and their own country. So we're speaking of a social crisis. We have seen huge protests. There is also a sanitary collapse in the United States. And this is a chaotic organization. And they totally fail in all of the exercises they have tried through force. And finally, it will come to what is the resurgency of the positioning of China in the economic realm. It's important for us to see in the argumentation that Trump shows when he speaks about withdrawing the U.S. troops from Germany, and he says, how is it possible that the United States protects Germany while Germany does business with Russia? And he speaks directly about the Stream 2 that is going to be in the Baltic Sea and that is basically ready to transport Russia to Germany without passing through Belgium. This affects U.S. economic interests, but beyond this, the geopolitics of things is also diminished, especially in the scenario when presidents, just some time ago, like President Macron, called on NATO to transform their vision and to constitute a new security scheme for Europe where one can exclude the United States and therefore guarantee security. Thank you, David. Please stay with us. I would like to go with you, Jorge Luis, and it has to do with the geostrategy. The fact that the United States has decided to move part of the troops from Germany to Poland puts in problems Russia, because as he analyzed on the map, you can see that Poland is geographically closer to Russia. They have borders with former Soviet nations. So the question is, what is Trump seeking with this movement of troops? Why towards Poland? What is Poland offering to the United States? Apart from some commercial benefits. Well, passing the troops to Poland is precisely to pressure Russia. But let's not forget that this president doesn't go through with his word. And many times Trump moves troops and then they have to move them back somewhere else. Just recently, he moved some of the troops to carry out some training, and then he had to move them right back because of the coronavirus. And he probably is suffering a lot because what is happening with the protests due to racism in the United States. And now what they want to do is to warn the United States on what they should and what they should not do. So what the United States is doing is just to impress Russia and China. For example, just some time ago, Iran sent 5 ships with gasoline and oil to Venezuela when Venezuela needed it, because Venezuela and Cuba are blocked. And Trump threatened that he was going to shoot down the boats and he was going to call the South Command. And the 5 Iranian boats have docked in the Venezuelan soil. So let's not forget that he says many things that are in the function of finding re-election. So we really don't know how this is going to come out. I shall insist that on one hand it's dangerous, but on the other hand, the United States is always teasing to see, because there is nothing concrete on what they're going to do. So I insist once again that I think that he speaks more than he says. There are some things that he cannot control. Jorge Luis, there is a lot of possibilities from the actions of the Trump government that this move of Germany to Poland might not even happen. And some analysts have said that this tantrum that Trump has launched in NATO is benefiting Russia. Well, yeah, probably so, because it's going to have a boomerang effect. Trump confronts everybody. And when he tries to block somebody, things just go back right at him. So this man wants to move himself alone. And let's not forget that all of the countries are interdependent. And now, for example, what happens with Trump, with Iraq? People don't want to see them there. Well, same thing happened with Nova Scotia. And there was a conflict with Russia through Ukraine. And this was pushed by the United States. So this has been happening for some while now. There is some decadence. A country in decadence. I would like to invite you and David to stay with us in Critical Moves. We're going to go to a small pause and we'll be right back. Remember, we have the question of the day. It says, what are the geopolitical effects? Have the tantrums of Trump and NATO? Who benefits from this sanction measures of the White House tenant? Give us your opinion. We'll be right back. Let's not forget that NATO has been used as an instrument of war by the United States as their armed force beyond their territory. Let's see the role of this alliance in the sense. 70 years after its creation, the NATO continues to have the role of an armed force in war sceneries. The war in Afghanistan and the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003 were evident sceneries where United States and NATO participated in violating human rights. The insatiable bombarding on Benghazi and Libya in 2012 added itself to the democracy because it was in Libya where NATO took all of the military force against Muammar Gaddafi. With all of the provocations of the United States, Russia appears as an objective ever since its creation. In 2015, the Pentagon, as part of the military strategy, pointed at Russia and China as adversaries. In response to this, the White House has strengthened their presence in military places. Like in Latin America, Colombia has also entered NATO, and this also increases the negative possibilities for Venezuela, who are the neighboring country, as well as other countries that the United States has not been able to submit. Let's continue with our analysis, and we have Jorge Luis Ubertale and David Rodriguez. Jorge Luis, bearing in mind this material that we just saw, with the current Trump administration, some analysts say that they could be unrepairable for years, even if we thought that from November on, the president could be somebody else. But are they shooting themselves on the foot? With this posture that they keep right now. Well, in fact, this is a problem for them. But they have no other way out. They can't do anything crazy at this moment. The United States is a country in decadence. It's not just it's just a matter of time. The United States is drowning, and on top of this, the Bolton book has just surfaced, speaking many things about the Trump administration, where he says that the United States has tried to stop the issuing, the publishing of this book, saying that it would be publishing, it would be revealing secrets of the presidency. So what we see is like a circus. But let's not forget that the United States does have nuclear weapons, so it's not that funny. And well, it's not only the civil society, it's the militaries that also have problems with Trump. So I think it's a country that is in decadence, and everything they touch becomes into ashes. So of course, this too, it wouldn't be surprising that the United States is going to bring on themselves more problem through Trump's action. I would go as far as to saying that this crisis will put an end to the capitalist system. David, what are the implications for the world if NATO becomes weakened? Well, I think that the United States is advancing to a scenery that will make it like a ghost in Europe. China is growing hugely, economically and militarily. They have shown their capacity to work with this coronavirus crisis, and the United States has shown totally the contrary. They do not have a powerful presence in this pandemic. On the contrary, all of the crises have emerged, even the moral crisis. And we totally agree that it used to be a powerful nation that is now a country in decadence. It's like a bird that has been hit and trying to find the mechanisms to stay alive. The mechanism they have always used has been the aggression, war, and they've always been trying to generate the scenario of destabilization. And what they want to do is to start new adventures from now on. It's also true, like Norbert Walters Borja said in Germany, he said that the United States is using this as a movement to boost his re-election. He wants to promote a nationalist policy, and with a budget that privileges the U.S. interest beyond the European interest. However, it is very hard that Trump may even think of a triumph if you understand that the U.S. people will react due to all of the chaos that has been generated due to the pandemic and the protests around the death and the aggression of the black community, and how he has used the force now not only outside the United States but now within the country itself. I think that the destiny of NATO will be to reconfigure itself to be a political instance that will have to negotiate and will have a softer reaction than Russia and China, understanding that these are countries that are emerging, and all of the agreement has maintained the scenario after Second World War II. It's undeniable that the imperialism and everything that has been the end of the 20th century has only assumed adventures, and that it has affected the final destiny of humanity. Now we see how the United States goes against Venezuela. We see how they're going with this hostile attitude against Cuba, and every country that is not under the knee of the United States. So I believe that the European country and the European people in general, with this pandemic that has caused such a big crisis, will manifest itself towards presenting a new alternative for the international and internal policies. Now we're at a crossing point. Either the savage capitalism does away with economy, or you are inscribed in capitalism general, or finally we just steer the steering wheel somewhere else and we find ports of destiny, and destiny that would be of hope and peace. Thank you very much, David. I would like to go back to my other guest. And the thing is that now with the crisis of NATO, they're obligated to reinvent itself, or it might even disappear in the upcoming time. Well, I think there is no point in it keeps on existing, because this was created during World War II to distract Russia. And now what the U.S. economy is based on the military complex. So if they don't produce weapons and don't use it or sell them, this economy might just go down the drain. And now, more than ever, China is taking the lead. So, United States in production is totally far behind these countries. So the only thing they can save their country is to sell. And what can they sell? They can sell weapons. Of course, if they don't sell it fast, their weapons will become obsolete. So it's a vicious circle. NATO has no reason to exist. Capitalism is already the war. And capitalism is the one that should disappear. When capitalism disappears, then there will be no antagonism. I think this is what I believe, and I hope happens. A big hug to both of you. Let's go to our conclusions. As you can see, the Trump phenomenon has come to even undermine the military arm beyond their borders. How will NATO come out of this problem with the United States? Will it be stronger or will it be weaker? What are the effects that the reducing the troops in Germany have? Will Trump go through with his with sending these troops to Poland? How will this have an influence in the relationship between the West and the United States? So this is what we're going to be analyzing for next week. For today, this is all. Thank you.